to Ms. Kamek for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, and good afternoon. Thank you all for being here with us this afternoon. With so many threats to deal with, as has been pointed out today, it's really a shame that we have a major one that we have to contend with that's completely unnecessary and manufactured. So we'll just jump right in on that one. Secretary Mayorkas, you've stated that you believe that the southwest border is secure. Giving me just the number and nothing else, no additional commentary, tell me how many gotaways there were for fiscal year 22? Just the number, please. Secretary Mayorkas, I have a litany of questions. Just the number, please. Thank you. You are correct. It is 600,000. Now, can you answer definitively with data backing up your answer that none of the 600,000 individuals who are now in the United States amongst our communities that got away are gang members or criminals?
Your question is precisely why we have sought your question highlights precisely why we have sought to prioritize national security and public safety threats.
I'm so glad to hear you say that.
Immigration and customs enforcement.
I'm really glad to hear you say that.
Efforts.
I'm going to have to reclaim my time because I've got a lot to get through. So as you know, probably then in fiscal year 22, CBP arrested nearly 30,000 illegals attempting to enter the country who were previously convicted of a crime. Now, of those arrested, in just the number, no additional commentary, how many have claimed asylum?
Congresswoman, I'll have to get back to you with specific with specific numbers.
Thank you. Now, officially, there have been 2.4 million illegals that have been encountered at the southwest border in fiscal year 22. That doesn't include the 600,000 gotaways. So giving me just the number, and again, no additional commentary, can you tell me how many illegals have been released into the United States that were encountered at the southwest border?
Putting aside your terminology, may I correct you, because you've actually cited inaccurate facts.
Well, this is actually from your website.
No, it isn't.
It is, and I'd be happy to provide it with you.
Congresswoman, 2.4 million, or between 2.3 and 2.4 million encounters is different than 2.3.
But I think you're missing the point of the question. How many have been released into the United States?
Congresswoman, if I may, because you are mistaken, factually mistaken.
So your data is incorrect?
No. No, you are misunderstanding our data.
No.
Okay,
I'm going to reclaim my time because based on the information from your website, from your department, officially there have been, of all those encounters, 1.4 million, and that's a conservative number, that your department states have been released into the United States. So I know you guys have done this really fun renaming, rebranding thing, calling it enforcement removal proceedings. But today, in fiscal year 22, you have now released over 1.4 million illegals into the United States. And my question to you now is, can you guarantee that none of those people have criminal records?
This enforcement work is not fun, Congresswoman. This is a noble profession in which people risk their lives to conduct it, and you know that very well.
All the righteous indignation. Here we go. So I want to make sure that you understand that per your own data and statistics, they have pointed out that, in fact, you hold the record as Secretary of Homeland Security for the most encounters and subsequent releases into the United States in history. Your own former boss, Secretary Jay Johnson, said that 1,000 a day is considered a crisis. Today, we're encountering 7,000 a day. The facts and figures make the point for me. So is the border secure based on your feelings or facts?
Congresswoman, let me have the opportunity to correct a misstatement. 2.3 to 2.4 million encounters includes the fact that under Title 42, the Public Health Authority, individuals can actually be repeat offenders. They can try again. And so there are actually approximately 1.7 million unique individuals whom we have encountered at the border. So when you say—
But based on your reporting—
I'm actually—
Based on your reporting, these folks are here in the United States, and there's been no proper vetting of these people. And then we don't even have the agreements in place to deport the folks that you're claiming under Title 42. Nicaragua is a great example of that.
Congressman, I hope you realize that we have removed or expelled more individuals from the United States than ever before.
And just to clarify, as a final question, you, with all of this data that has been presented based on your own department's releases, you still believe that the border is secure?
The gentlewoman's time has expired. You may answer the question, Mr. Secretary.
Congresswoman, we remain committed to enhancing the security of our border every single day.
That's not an answer.
The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Kansas, Mr. LaTurner, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being here today. Secretary Mayorkas, in April, you said, quote, "Our message has been clear that the border is in fact not open." According to public data from the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, which you yourself oversee, we had 227,000 migrant encounters at the southwest border in September of this year alone, bringing the yearly total to almost 2.4 million, which is the highest number ever recorded. Do you believe that indicates a border that is not open?
Congressman, thanks for your question. Please, it's very important that the American people understand that the individuals whom we encounter who are not expelled under the public health authority of Title 42 are placed in immigration enforcement proceedings and are subject to removal if they do not qualify for the relief that the laws of this country provide them.
Respectfully,
I do not
Mr.
think,
Secretary,
if I may.
No, hang on. I have a limited amount of time and several questions. If you just give me a quick answer, I would really appreciate it.
Sure.
Among those nearly 2.4 million encounters, we had 98 non-U.S. citizens listed on the terrorist watch list who were caught trying to enter the homeland between ports of entry. This is approximately 5 times the number of terrorist encounters from the last 5 years combined. Do you believe this indicates a border that is not open?
What this indicates, Congressman, is the fact that we have extraordinary personnel in the United States Border Patrol risking their lives every day to apprehend individuals at the border. And we
Mr. Secretary, you're not going to answer the question. In fiscal year 2022, we had an estimated 600,000 gotaways. Do you believe this indicates a border that is not open?
Congressman, I would respectfully posit that I don't think that the 1.4 million people who were either removed or expelled
Mr. Secretary,
from the country would
please.
consider the border open.
I'm going to take back my time. In May, Kansas City law enforcement seized more than 15,000 counterfeit fentanyl pills. This fiscal year alone, CBP has seized enough fentanyl to kill almost 2.9 billion people, over 8 times the entire population of the U.S. Do you believe this indicates a border that is not open?
Congressman, do you realize that the majority of the fentanyl that is sought to be smuggled into the United States comes through the ports of entry, and our interdiction efforts have been more successful than ever before? I should note,
Mr. Secretary, in my home state,
excuse me,
Mr. Secretary, you've done this all day. When you don't like a question, you filibuster. In my home state of Kansas, the state health department saw a 54% increase in drug overdoses in the first half of 2021, nearly half of which were caused by fentanyl, primarily supplied by the cartels. Nationwide, the CDC reported that over 107,000 Americans died of drug overdoses in 2021, with 66% of those related to synthetic opioids like fentanyl. 300 Americans a day are dying from fentanyl. It's the equivalent of an airliner going down every day. Do you think this indicates a border that is not open?
Congressman, the fight against the scourge of fentanyl and the devastation that it is wreaking is a years-long fight that we in the United States government with our state and local partners have been fighting. Do you realize that the number of overdose deaths from fentanyl has been increasing year over year since at least 2018? Certainly, this is not a new phenomenon.
Mr. Secretary,
it is not a new tragedy.
Mr. Secretary, you clearly don't understand the problem.
I clearly do.
Excuse me. This has nothing to do with politics. This is about kids across the country dying every single day from fentanyl overdoses because people in Washington can't get their act together. This is about an overwhelmed Border Patrol. This is about migrants being victimized by the drug cartels. My concern, and the concern of my constituents back home, is how can you begin to solve the problem if you don't even acknowledge the depth and breadth of it? Here's a question for you. Have you had discussions, excuse me, Mr. Secretary, have you had discussions with the President or anyone in the Biden administration about stepping down from your current role?
I have not.
Not a conversation with anyone in the administration?
Congressman, let me be very clear.
Yes or no?
May I answer your
No,
question?
yes or no? Have you had that
Congressman.
conversation with anyone in the administration?
I am very proud of what we have accomplished. I'm very committed
Sir,
to accomplishing
Answer
more.
the question. Have you had a conversation with anyone in the administration about stepping down from your current role?
I have not.
I hope, for the sake of the safety of the American people, that that conversation happens very soon. I yield back my time.
Madam
The gentleman yields back. Mr. Secretary, you may respond if you
Madam
like.
Acting Chair, thank you very much for the opportunity. Congressman, I look forward to sharing information with you so that you understand the threat that fentanyl poses and how it is smuggled into the country, everything that we are doing to fight the transnational criminal organizations across the federal enterprise with our partners to the South, and to disabuse you of misunderstandings that you have with respect to the fentanyl crisis, because they are grave, and I look forward to not only sharing information with you, but hopefully sharing information with the American public.
I recognize